All right, folks, happy Tuesday. This is going to be a pretty easy day, all things considered, just for the fact that I want us to kind of appreciate and reflect on what we just got out of Ishmael. Okay? So we just spent the last, 5-6 weeks of the class diving into this book, diving into the rich text that is Ishmael by Daniel Quinn. And I'm curious as to what you all think of the book. I'm curious as to what you all find plausible, find implausible. I mean, it might be fairly implausible that we have a telepathic gorilla, but the message here from Ishmael, what do you all think? Okay? And kind of considering that and considering what it is we just went through and what it is we just kind of embraced with Ishmael, I think that there are things that both kind of work within our framework of belief and reality, of thinking about kind of this overall base question of looking at what we know, how we know it, and do we know anything at all? And the question that Ishmael is asking us, right? The question that Ishmael is asking us is, how did things come to be this way? Right? How did the world that we inhabit, how did the world that we exist in come to be the way that it is? And what role do we have in either furthering that story, furthering that narrative, or perhaps changing it, right? And if we are takers, which in fact we are, right? I mean, it's very clear that we are takers, okay? How do we maybe change our mindset a little bit to not be takers? How do we change our mindset a little bit to perhaps live with the world, right? Rather than at odds with it, okay? And so that's where we kind of end up here with Ishmael. Is we end up with, again, I think, a multiplicity of various ways of considering how the text relates to our overall interest in epistemology, our overall interest in thinking about how things came to be this way, our overall interest in looking at how we know what we know and do we know anything at all. Okay? And I think I indicated this either in class or in another video lecture from earlier on. But I mean, I first read this book 14 or 15 years ago, and it still kind of resonates. Every time I re-engage with it, it finds a way of asking new questions. It finds a way of engaging in ways that I think are really meaningful. So I hope that you feel the same. And I know that some of you probably didn't like the book. I know that some of you probably thought things were kind of far-fetched, that were a little too much here and there. But I also hope that even with those critiques and with those comments, that you're able to appreciate and you're able to be challenged by some of the work that Quinn has put forth with Ishmael. Okay? So, congrats on finishing the book. On Thursday, we will transition to another kind of area of epistemology that gets not a ton of attention, which is focusing on the nature of bullshit. Okay? So, what is bullshit? How do we identify it? How do we know what it is? And moreover, kind of what are the implications of it epistemologically speaking? So, we'll start that transition and that work on what day? Thursday. All right. Cheers.